Hello and welcome to my podcast, which is about sewing, knitting, sometimes crochet, patchwork, generally fabric-based things. I'm Julie and I'm coming to you from just north of Glasgow in the UK. Today is episode 18 of my podcast. And thank you so much for joining me. The weather today is, the sun's coming out actually. It started off a little bit rainy, but it's possibly going to brighten up a little bit. So today I've got one main finished item and some little bits and some knitting work in progress and some knitting plans. So first of all, my finished item is this Whittaker pinafore dress, which is a Merchant and Mills pattern. And this is my second Whittaker pinafore. The other one is, I don't know, a couple of episodes back. And I'm really pleased with it. I am going to add a little video of me wearing it outside, because I could stand up here, but you're not really going to see the full thing. Oh, that's not too bad. Anyway, what's the story of this garment? Just move those. So the story is that I had a smallish piece of this twill type fabric left after making these Eve trousers, which I made quite a few years ago out of the same fabric. As you can see, very much washed and worn. So I like the fabric and I really wanted to make another one of these Whittakers. They're so comfy and really quite adaptable. But I didn't really have quite enough fabric. So as a result of that, I'm just glancing at my notes here. As a result of that, it doesn't have the patch pockets on the back because I didn't have enough fabric. It's a size 10, which I think is a much, much better fit than the 12 I made. I am a 12, I would say, in most patterns. But the Merchant and Mills patterns, I think, are very generous, particularly this style. So I opted for the 10 because I thought it might be a better fit, but also because I didn't have much fabric. So one thing I had to do is, and I've tried to show this on the little video I will add after I've chatted about this, I've had to add some extra little bits at the top of the shoulders. Now what I did, I cut out, not sure if I have the pattern piece on the table here, I cut out this is my own, I just made a copy of the Merchant and Mills. I only had as far as there. Now, instead of just trying to match the piece completely, I added quite a large piece. Well, it wasn't large because I didn't have much fabric. I added a piece of the twill, and then I recut the pattern on top of that. So I wasn't trying to match a little itty bit. I cut around. Now, I think that's fine. It almost looks like a little feature. Who's going to notice? I think people who are sewers might notice, but who else? I think it's fine. Perfect is the enemy of finished. So that's the story of the main body. The lining I'll just lean down and get it. This roll, it's an end of roll, which, I was going to bring the top down. I have made a top out of this, but it's up in my bedroom. It's in my summer clothes, which are now put away. So this is a really nice fine cotton, which I bought as an end of roll. It was literally, there's meters on this. It was literally about £6 from Abercorn in Rhyl, North Wales. And as I said, I've made a top out of it, but not much else. So I thought that will look really nice as you have to do a facing lining just here, which comes down underneath. And the pockets, big pocket bag is that fabric. Not sure if I can take it out now. So I think that looks nice as the inner. You will notice I have gone outside with the little bit of lining, but because it's on both sides, I don't mind. Obviously you shouldn't see that lining, but again, because I didn't have much fabric, I didn't have a lot of leeway to play with. So that's the lining, the fabric. The buttons, I opted for white buttons, 4 buttons on each side, and I thought that would be a nice feature, sort of little pop of interest. And the buttons came from my stash, and I have taken out one of my tubs of buttons, which in a Hobbycraft storage box, which I must have bought 3 years ago, and there's all sorts in there. I have arranged them in little bundles, which I suppose is fun to do at the time, but obviously it does take quite a while. I think I have 3 other of these. They're not all things I would probably use. They're some brass type buttons, which probably came from my mother's stash. These have accumulated perhaps partly from my mother's stash. That's off a coat that I have, a Mac, the spare buttons. Don't know if it's missing a button. And I've got shirt type buttons, really nice things that will come in. So I've probably bought some from charity shops or from bundles at Abercorn when they have an end of season sale, and you get sort of mystery bag type things. So that's where I had my buttons from my stash. And in terms of the hem, it is just about long enough for me. And what I did for the hem, I added some, not sure if you can see it there, just picks up the light. Is it called a false hem? I used bias binding to I attached it to the raw edge and just pressed it under, and then that's the, as I said, I think is called a false hem. And again, the bias binding came from my stash. To me, that's like 5/8 of an inch. I did have a thicker bias binding, but it was a bit too light, whereas this is a more true navy. So again, I had to eke out the hem, as didn't have much fabric, but as I said, it's just on long enough for me. I don't think I would have liked it any shorter. Anything else? I think that's it. My finished item for this week, which I really like, and I think I'll get a lot of wear out of it. The shirt is just a charity shop linen shirt, channeling my David Attenborough. He always wears a blue shirt, doesn't he? And the other one is a Nicola Walker, the actress on one of the TV dramas. She had a lovely blue linen shirt, and then I saw, well, Andrew saw this in the charity shop and he said, oh, that'll look nice. So I think I could wear it with plain white t-shirt, the striped t-shirt, but I opted for this morning. So I'm just going to switch off for now, and then I'll add the video of me just wearing this so you see the full length. Hope that worked out, the little video of me wearing the dress outside. So I don't have a great deal of other finished objects. I do have some darning using my speed weaver or braider, and I was able to do this one, I think, which is a little bit neater. It's not quite finished, but I was able to do this in the car as Andrew was driving us down to Glasgow. We mind our granddaughter one day a week, and I was able to do most of that on the journey down. So I just need to catch up the loops at the top and neaten off the edges inside. So that's obviously homemade socks. I think these were the first socks I made. So they are quite old and they're quite a thicker yarn, but I will finish off the weaving the threads at the end, or the yarn at the end, and I think they do need a bit of a wash, so it'll be good to go. I do have some other darning to do, but that's what I managed to get done this week. We're now on to works in progress, and one of the things I've been working on is Helical or Helical knitting, which somebody kindly recommended I try, and I'm really pleased they did, because it's good fun, it's a nice effect, and because I'm trying to use up my stash, I don't have big batches of one colour, so it's a good way of using up odd balls or a couple of balls of two colours together. So this is my attempt. Just bring this basket up here where I've got it. So this is my attempt at helical knitting using the last of this brown mohair, which came from my mum's stash. I did chat about it last week, and also using this really soft Hand Knitting Guild mohair 80 mohair, 80% mohair, 10% wool, nylon, and honestly that is beautiful. That's like a cloud. So the only thing I'm going to have to work out, this pattern, which I've got in a folder here, this pattern the 24, 28, 30 stitches top, which I downloaded off Ravelry. It doesn't have short rows at the back. What you do is, when you split for the sleeves, you put the sleeves and the front on a scrap yarn, and then you add 8 rows, just knitting flat at the back. Now, I've got another set of increases to do before I split for the back and the sleeves. So I'm going to have to decide, am I going to try and do some flat knitting, or am I not going to increase the row count at the back? I know I have made sweaters where you don't add extra rows at the back. So I'm going to have to decide. That's the only thing I need to work out, really. I am playing yarn chicken because I don't have loads of the brown, but it does seem to go quite a long way. So hopefully, I'm enjoying doing this. Hopefully I will get this done this week. It is so light. It's lovely. And again, it's not perfect, but it's good enough. It's going to have short sleeves, the top, and I wanted to use the brown for the cuff of the sleeves. So I'll have to see how I get on with how much yarn. The bottom cuff round the waist, I wouldn't mind using the lighter yarn. It's like a really light pink peachy colour. But again, see how I go on that. I do have some other combinations of yarn, but they're mainly blues, I think, and they're very vivid red, which I had started using the pink with. One thing I do when I'm not like the expert knitter, but one thing I do is when I knit in the round socks or this top, I do the rib flat first of all, and then I just sew up that little bit at the end, because I haven't got the patience for the making sure you don't get a tangle or a twist in your yarn. I can do it, but I've chosen just to do the rib flat and then sew it up at the end. But I'm pleased with how that's going. Because it's mohair, it is difficult to see if my rounds are actually jogless, because I know the idea of helical knitting is that you don't have, or helical knitting, you don't have the jog. But it's quite difficult to see with this fluffy mohair. The other thing you don't have is your working yarns are just, they work in as you go around, so there's no weaving in at the back. It's all nice and flat inside. So I'm pleased with that, and I may use some other of the mohair to do some other of these short sleeve tops. So that's that. Just glancing at my notes here, I think that's it on that. I did start the rice bag, and I did do some more on it, but I don't know where I've put it. It'll be around somewhere. Because I've been working on this, my sewing table, and I've got a little put-up settee in here, is covered in fabric, not fabric, pattern pieces. And this table is now covered. When I was teaching in a sixth form college, 2 years running, I had the fun prize at the end of the year, the most untidy desk. And I think that's what I do. I get working on things and then don't put away as I go along. Anyway, it's my sewing room, so who's to fret? What else is in here? I did dig out. I've been working on this, so I've done some more of this Sashiko stitching, which looks really effective. I did try yesterday in a couple of shops to buy a frame, and square frames seem to be a bit thin on the ground, particularly this size, so I may end up having to buy online. I don't want to pay a lot of money because I need to get 3 of these if I'm going to do a set of 3. But I did try yesterday. There's not loads left on that, but it's not quite finished yet. So I've been working on that. I've done a bit on the rice bag, but as I said, I'm not sure where it's ended up. Excuse me while I have a sip of coffee. Okay, so my plans for this week: to work on those things I've just shown, plus part of me doing this channel is to give me some impetus to get through my stash. I don't think I have many more unfinished objects. I have mending to do, which I'm putting off, but I don't think I have a lot of unfinished objects. What I do have is quite a bit of fabric, but I think most of my usable fabric now is, I have some dressmaking fabric, I have some sweatshirt fabric, I have some t-shirt fabric, but I have a lot of quilting fabric. And I don't want to go buying more, but, you know, it's working out what goes with what. So I may try and start this week. I'm just going to get this pattern. I have a pile of magazines I've bought in charity shops over the years. So this pattern I really fancy. It isn't big. What I thought I would do is do 4 of those in order to make, I think that's, how many inches is the finished? Can I see? I thought I'd do 4 of those to, I can't see the finish. Oh, finished square 35 inches. 4 of those, and then I could make a throw to go on the little settee in my sewing room. I have some wadding. It's polyester wadding that I can patch together, so I'm not buying more wadding. And this is the fabric I have in mind. So I think that was Doughty's in Hereford, bought online. This is I think an Abercorn, a pair of pajamas of mine, which I think I made too big. I have worn them a bit, but they were too big, so that will go. This is beautiful. Again, Doughty's from Hereford, bought online. And then this I like, Doughty's in Hereford, bought online. So it's going to be a combination of those 4. I think there's 4 colours in the star. I think the star does have 2 plainish fabrics, so I'm going to have to see, perhaps that could go as a plain, but I think that would look really nice, reds and a slightly pink tone. So that's what I'd like to get started over this week, but we'll see. And the other thing I'm interested in is this bag of chunky, which, not sure of the wool content. I think it's 50% acrylic, 25% wool, 25% nylon. So I have a selection of these odd balls. This is piling up in front of me, isn't it? again, that's sort of a half, that's a 40% wool, which somebody gave me these. Not sure where this came from. And somebody, not sure, did I buy them on eBay? Can't remember. But what I was thinking is I've never made, and I know the patterns are very popular, I've never made a petite knits pattern. And I'm toying with the idea of a cardigan or a sweater, but it would be striped. I don't think I'd do the helical because there isn't enough of any of the yarns. I'll have a look. Anyway, a cardigan or a sweater. We went out on Saturday night. A friend kindly invited us for a really lovely meal, which was a really nice evening. And of course, I was going through my wardrobe. I was thinking, what do I wear? I don't have loads and loads of clothes, but I thought, I could do with some kind of cardi or sweater. The Felix cardigan I made, I'm not sure I'm keen on it. I might unravel it and use the yarn to make a blanket. I'm not sure. I don't like the colour on me. Anyway, so that's a possibility, is to start a cardigan. It would be good to finish this first before I start anything else. Any other plans? I think that's enough. Look at me surrounded by all this stuff. And we are starting the decorating. We've lived in this house perhaps a year and 3 months, excuse me, and in really lots of rooms need decorating. We've done some, so we're back on the decorating now, which I'd rather be knitting, but I have to show willing and try and get a bit of decorating done. Thank you so much for keeping me company. Best wishes to you all. Hope you have a good stitching week and look after yourselves, and see you again soon. Bye.